5 years, every studio in Australia has V-flats. Nobody else in the world has them. But back in the 90s, every studio had V-flats. They're the best things to work with, and they're very cheap and easy to make. That's why I'm making one now. Before I get started, just so I know what to talk about today, bang. How many of you shoot portrait? Fashion? Nobody? Wildlife? Couple? Motorsports? Sorry, I'll come around this way. Motorsports? All right, so most of the things I talk about are more to do with portrait, fashion, or art. They do not count for still life, motorsports, when you're shooting animals, sports, any of that stuff, completely different set of criteria. But the area I work in is shooting people, shooting art, fashion, advertising. And a lot of, I'm just going to stand this up. V-flat, very easy to make. A lot of what I do is how I make money. If I did what camera club said, if I did what camera company said to do, I would not make any money at all. So the biggest problem with the world at the moment is the only way camera companies can sell cameras, they have to come up with a reason for you to buy them. So a 5D Mark II is a great camera. So why do you need to buy the latest camera? The Nikon 850 is a great camera. My Hasselblad H6D is an amazing camera. So why do I need to buy any new cameras? So they throw on us megapixel, super fast autofocus, and the biggest thing in the world is sharp. They keep talking about sharp, sharp, sharp. It's the biggest thing they got to sell. It's the worst thing for shooting fashion or people. Every model I know, if you say, oh, I want sharp skin, they just go, no. They run away. Back in the 70s, they used to put Vaseline on lenses. They used to put stockings over lenses because they were too sharp. So what are people doing now? They're buying haze filters to put over lenses to make them softer. So why are we wasting money on buying super sharp lenses for portraiture? It's crazy. So one thing I've learnt in my time of shooting that most photographers have, especially for portrait and fashion, that's mainly what I'm talking about, and even a bit of advertising, none of my clients have ever commented about a picture being soft. Never. I've never had a client go, oh, it's too soft. But if I put something on Facebook, Instagram, 500 pics, the worst one of all, they go, oh, it's too soft. But they're not my clients. They're photographers. And photographers never buy off me. I make my money off the rest of the world. And I found that photographers have things back to front. So you go out and do a shoot, and you might have 100, 200 pictures, and you get put into Lightroom and you flick through, you see a picture and go, oh, I love that. I love that picture. What's the first thing every one of you do? Zoom in, right? You zoom in. So if you see a beautiful picture on the wall, do you get a magnifying glass out and walk up and zoom in on it? No. But you think you have to zoom in. So you zoom in and you go, oh, it's soft. Delete. So the best picture of the day you deleted because it wasn't sharp. Now I did a little exercise where I grabbed a picture that was razor sharp and I made a copy of it. And then I blurred it. And on a demonstration I put the two up. And everyone goes, oh, that's such a, and I'd zoom in, oh, it's soft. And I go to the next picture and go, Oh, the model must have changed a little bit. Then I took the blur filter off, it was the same picture. It actually looked better, soft. And that's part of the reason. A lot of fashion photographers, the biggest photographers in the world, do not have sharp images. They don't care. Peter Lindbergh, Marcus and Mert, Mario Sestini, all of that, they do not care. And they're charging 20 to 80,000 a day. They're getting printed in Vogue. They've got clients like Chanel and all of those. None of them care. But then we come down to entry-level photographers. Oh, it cares, it matters, it matters, it matters. And this is why it's so hard for your pictures to get accepted to look like professionals, because they're too sharp. The real world of fashion and advertising would never use a picture that sharp because it's not attractive. So I do this little bit of rant to start with. I'm not telling you to go out and purposely take soft pictures. Well, I'm telling you to think carefully who you are taking photos for. So the way that most of you are looking at it, the most important thing is sharp. The second most important thing is good exposure and colour. And the least important thing is your subject. Do you think there might be a problem with this? Think about it carefully. If you just pulled out your iPhone and either your grandkid or your daughter or someone you know did something and they licked an ice cream, it was just about to fall, and that expression on their face. If you captured it, does it matter if it's not sharp? No, it's the moment you captured it. If you waited till you got sharp, you would have missed the moment. And it wouldn't have made it a better picture. And if you seriously look at the very top photographers in the world, not the people on YouTube, not the people on 500 pics and that, definitely not the presidents of camera clubs, you'll see that the rest of the world doesn't care. And the more you can take looking at a photo from a photographer's point of view and looking at a photo as an art point of view, you'll start to enjoy photography more. Because the more we put these rules on ourselves, the harder it is to take a picture that's not boring. So I have a thing that you can either take a nice picture, and a nice picture on Instagram is flick, flick, nice, nice, that's nice, that's nice, that's nice. Go on to 500 pics, there's millions of nice pictures. They all blend in. None of them go anywhere, nobody gets famous from it, nobody makes any money, they all comment. They might be the king of 500 pics, but it doesn't make them any money. It definitely doesn't get their pictures sold on walls or in magazines, the odd one might. Then you go to the real world. And the real world is a crazy model I worked with in Paris. She's Australian. She doesn't know much about photography at all. She said the only thing she's ever learnt is she's modelled at about 15 of my workshops around the world and listens to what I say, and she's learnt photography from there. She's earning $4,000 a shoot. She's not skilled, never been to school, doesn't know how to set her camera up. Most of the time she just shoots in P. She shoots film, she shoots digital, doesn't retouch a single thing. The clients send her the clothes, they find the models, she does a 2-hour shoot and earns $4,000. Doesn't even retouch. She has an eye, she creates an art. The clients love the art. That art makes things sell because it's so different. And the more that we sit into this world of trying to fit into the box, the less you show the world of who you are. And the one thing, I can teach you lighting, that's easy. Lighting's the easiest thing in the world. Working with people, it's a lot harder. But later on I might grab one of you and show how easy it is to make one of you a model. It isn't that hard, there's some tricks. But the hardest thing in the world is putting your fingers in the air and not listening to anybody else and taking photos for yourself. At the end of the day, photography starts off as a hobby. I'd say most of you start off as a hobby. Did you start off to make money out of photography? Like, do you take up golf and say, I need to make money out of golf, or fishing or skiing? You don't. For some reason, people think you take up photography, I need to make money out of this. And as soon as you start needing to make money out of it, you lose your soul. Because you have to listen to everybody else tell you what you're doing right or what you're doing wrong. Well, in art, there's nothing right or wrong. It's seriously, you should be taking photos for yourself, nobody else. Now, I've got a couple of analogies I work with. If I was to cook for all of you, I've got no idea what you're going to eat. So how do I go in the kitchen and cook something for all of you? I can't. But I can go in and cook for me. I know if I make my burger the way I make a burger, I know I'm going to love it. And that's all that matters. Is this making sense? When you're taking photos, you should be taking photos for yourself. Seriously. You need to enjoy your photos. It doesn't matter if nobody else in the world enjoys it. You're doing it for you. You're going out taking that picture for you. You're deciding when you're going to take it. You're deciding how you're going to crop it, how you're going to retouch it. It should be 100% about what you like. And if you think about it carefully, all of your eyes are different. And I have a little story I do a lot of the times. If I tell you a story, this little house on a hill, there's a picket fence and an old dead tree, and there's a dog running up and down the front fence every time the postal van comes up. Right, everyone can see this scene? What's a dog? Every one of you will have a different dog. Photography should be the same. It'll be your story you tell. You don't tell anybody else, and then when they look at it, they'll tell their story out of your story. And if you can build your photography up to a point where you really like your photos, you'll stick them on a t-shirt. And not tell the world, it doesn't have my name on it, nobody knows this is my picture. But I like my photos so much, I'll stick them on t-shirts. I have a room in my house which is fully wallpapered in my photos, just with glue, stick on the wall. Because prints are so much nicer than screens. And I walk in that room whenever I'm feeling a bit flat and I just look at my work and go, ah. And that's what I do, that's my life. I'm lucky enough to make very good money out of it, but I don't think I would have made money out of it if I listened to other people. I've always shot what I've wanted to shot, I always show the world what I like. I don't care about comments, I don't care about any of that, because if you say, I would have cropped it different, well, that's not my picture. I wouldn't have cropped it like that, that would be your picture. So it'd be like me making some pasta and you say, oh, it needs more chili sauce or it needs more salt. Well, that's to your taste, not to my taste, and I don't know your taste. And the more you can learn to take photos that keep you happy, the more your own style will come. The more you'll look different to other people, and the less you have to worry about AI. Because AI is a problem. AI is a problem for people who are taking pictures because of what other photographers tell them to do. Because AI will do all of that. It's already doing it. Levi's announced their catalogs are going to have AI models. Not real models, AI models, if you can't tell the difference. We're now getting AI into software. You know, Adobe was really proud to announce all the new AI they've built into it. I already know what Sony's got in 5 years. You'll be devastated. Forget about using M for master. You won't even use A for advanced or S for superstar. Everything will be P for professional. You'll take a picture and the camera will take about 15 pictures. It'll take all different exposures and all different focuses, and it'll stitch your photo perfect for you every single time with no soul. And every single person in the world will be able to take that same picture, just like an iPhone. You notice how good iPhones have got. I could not believe I was at a Deadmau5 concert in America. I pulled my iPhone up and I was videoing and going, no way. I could not believe the quality I was pulling off my own phone. Seriously, it was pulling beautiful 4K. I had detail in the shadows. Everything was perfect. It was the AI doing all the work for me. But there'll be a better videographer sitting inside doing all manually, getting his soul into that picture that my iPhone will never get. Just a couple of things before I start shooting, and you're welcome at any time tonight, ask questions. You're fully welcome at all. And I'm not telling you to change, I'm telling you to think different. Photography is art, music is art. The way the world's going, art's been taken off us. We don't have radio stations to listen to music. We now go onto our streaming services, and without us knowing, Spotify and Apple, they're pushing what they need to sell to you. It's very hard to find new artists anymore. Where's the last supermodel? So at the moment in Vogue, we have Kate Moss at 49, Naomi Campbell's 50, Claudia Schiffer's I think 47, Giselle just got back on the market at 42. Where's our supermodels? It's all been taken by influencers, as I call them, the Kardashians and all this rubbish. And the same's happening in music. When was the last time you heard a really good song? All they're releasing now are remakes of old songs. Think of Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Come on. What's come out since, you think of Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, I'm going with my age a bit now, but we don't have to go back far. You know, the Foo Fighters and Chili Peppers and their stuff, we just don't seem to be getting that anymore. It's because everything seems to be done by these corporates that are controlling everything. And if you want to make it in photography, you really have to have a soul. And they can never take your soul out of your photos. They'll never take the soul out of a brilliant singer. We're lucky enough that Billie Eilish and a few of those people, they were buskers on the street and someone found them. Put a video onto YouTube and next minute they go crazy. And what you need is for yourself with your photography, the same thing happened. Do what you do what you love, don't listen to anybody else in the world. Create it from your soul, of your passion. They'll become your photos. AI will never be able to copy your photos. They'll never copy mine, I know that. My mind's too messed up, AI will never understand it. And the more you do that, the more you'll actually enjoy your photography. And it's really fun to say to someone online who's going at you, you go, I took it for me, not for you. I don't care what you think. You'll never buy it off me. Why would I care what you think? I'm not being cocky, it's just I took it for me. I know you're not going to get it. And just before I start shooting, this is a perfect example. At 4 o'clock this morning when I retouched this, I knew, I freaking love this. I normally do black and white, hardly ever do colour. This is, the retouching on this is so little. A little bit in Lightroom, just a tiny bit of move. And I knew straight away that it's not going to go anywhere. I don't care, I love this picture. This was just pretty much straight out of camera. We had full sun dropping behind me, and she's lit by, there was a window behind me, and the sunlight was hitting that window, and the window was sort of slightly buckled, so there's all different patterns of light coming back and hitting her. And people think you need studios and things to create lighting. That's natural light on a wall in an Airbnb in Barcelona. You don't need a big studio. This was shot in a Leica. You don't have to have a Leica either. I could easily shot this on a 5D Mark II without a problem. In fact, the lens I used to shoot this on is a 1970 lens. And, oops, of course you don't want to. And that was another shot off the balcony in Paris. And these are these things. I just shoot wherever I shoot, I'll find the light, I'll get the attitude out of the model, and I'm shooting for what I love. I'm not caring about anybody else. When it comes to gear, it's really hard. I tried to do a few videos now talking about it's not about the gear. It keeps on coming back, it is. It isn't, but it is. So my favorite camera, a film camera, is a 1963 Leica M3. No electrics, no nothing. I love it, it's so easy to shoot with. And I've got a 1965, 35 and 50 I can put on. The 50 is just to die for. So it's not about that, but it is about the gear because I love that gear. And I keep hunting for new gear, and my favorite camera in the world I found out is discontinued. I can't even get it repaired, and Hasselblad wanted to argue with me online, but I win. So my H650, I cannot get repaired anywhere in the world. So I now have 3 of them. So once those 3 die, I'll never have one again because they can't get repaired. There's no backs. There's not a single back spare in the world. So that devastates me because my favorite camera, I'm happy to shoot with that for the rest of my life. But unfortunately, the way the world's going, With Leica, I just had my M3 fixed from Leica. They'll fix anything. If it has a Leica name on it, they don't care how old it is, send it back, they'll fix it. But unfortunately, Hasselblad's not a European business anymore, it's a Chinese business, and it's just cut, they're gone. But for the new gear that's coming out, everything's too sharp. Everything's too clinical, there's no soul. Your lenses are edge, so now you have to take it into Lightroom and vignette it and do all this stuff to give it some soul back, where if you buy some antique lenses and put it on there, you'll get that soul in your camera and you don't have to waste time in Photoshop. You'll see carefully, there's a vignetting in 2 of the corners. You'll see it's uneven, it's completely blown out in the sky behind. I don't care about that. That's photography talk. That's not artist talk. The final thing is, if you just think about, if you go into, even if you come in here, how many of you walked up to any of these prints that far away from them? So don't do it in your computer. In real life, if you're not going to walk up that close, don't, because that's not how you're supposed to see an image. An image is supposed to be seen from this distance. And you go to an art gallery, and especially some of my favourite photographers that have got exhibitions now, Helmut Newton's got one, Peter Lindbergh's got one. To walk into one of those, I would never walk up close to it. I'm going to get my viewing distance and look at it from that, because that's where it's meant to be viewed. It's not meant to be viewed on a computer screen and zooming in. Because you'll never be happy, there'll always be a fault, but those faults is what makes the picture perfect. Cool? I might do a couple of very quick little teasers for you. They're more the things that I do. I've just got to find where I've put it now. They're just a couple of little things that basically I break the rules, and I just want to point out the rules I've broken, and then you'll start to understand where I'm coming from. So we're all told that our eye will go to the sharpest thing in the picture and the brightest thing in the picture, right? They lied to you. Where's your eye going? Look at it carefully. Where is your eye going? No. You can't help it, can you? Go straight to the girl in the back who's out of focus and darker. Now normally I do something where I block half the screen. And if I block the front girl out, the picture does not even change, because your eye is still going there. But as soon as I block the girl in the back out, all of a sudden you go, oh, that's a new picture. And these things, you've got to understand that all these rules that have been thrown on us actually don't stand up. One of the things, see if I can do it in here. I don't know how well it'll work. I normally put something on my screen. Let's see if I can do it. It might work this way. Not sheet, I'll pull this down. That'll work. All right, so if I have this picture there, I'll go a bit smaller. Right, you can see that's a sharp eye. It's not razor sharp. This was shot fully wide open. I think it was on a Zeiss 135 f2. But you can still see all the lashes and everything. But would you say that eye is a little bit aggressive? It's not like looking at you nice and dreamy. It's a little bit, it's got a bit of attitude in it. Would you agree? So then if I drag you to the other eye, would you just say that picture just got so much more soft and beautiful? And this is how the fashion advertising and portraiture, not club portraiture, I mean commercial fashion portraiture works. And then once I do this and I put her back in here and then open it up, you'll see that we have a different look on the two sides of her face. So we've got two different looks, but the out of focus eye down here is not a problem, because the nose was in focus. So somebody can't say, oh, the picture's out of focus. But I still ask somebody to tell me, who's the first person that says the eye has to be in focus? Nobody can tell me who that was. And if any of you can find it for me, I'd love to know. Because these are little things that make all of our job hard, because we get so hung up on these little technical things, it's very, very hard to take a good picture. This picture here, you'll see both eyes are out of focus. And if I come in right, you'll see the tip of her nose and her forehead there's in focus. but you still get dragged into those out of focus pools. There's an amazing photographer, I'm not going to think of his name now, he's an Australian photographer. He was shooting in Africa and he shot these beautiful series of lions, and he dropped his medium format and he snapped his lens off. He put some gaffer tape around and started using it as a tilt shift. And the photos he's got with the lions, the hair on the nose is razor sharp and the eyes are so out of focus, but you just see this devil sitting there about to eat you. Because it took away, it allowed you to put your mind and your own thoughts into those eyes. Final thing, just so it's not just me talk, that's a retouched image, that's the unretouched image. All right, very little bit of toning, remove the hair on the forehead. If I come in at 100%, you'll see in here the lashes, they're as sharp as they need to be. Now, one of the things when I talk about sharp, I will put my hand next to the screen of my computer. If my picture is sharper than my hand, it's AI. That's not a real picture anymore. It's fake. And how many of you have been watching movies lately with all the CGI? Do any of those car crashes look real anymore? They all look fake. And then all of a sudden you might get someone who decides to use real cars and it looks so much better. Because our brain actually says, but if you have a look in here, see the lashes down around here are nice and fine and sharp as what all I'd want them to be. You'll see in the catch light, it's a little bit soft. If I go to the other eye, you'll see that the lashes are a little bit soft, but the catch eye is razor sharp. So number one, your autofocus on your cameras is picking up contrast. So it's always going to focus on the eyelashes. And if you're shooting a medium format with truthers, or if you're shooting, say, 1.2 on a Canon or a Nikon, your depth of field is about 3 to 5 millimeters. So if your lashes are sharp, the catch light's going to be soft. So if I was to stand here, you're not going to see it. Let's see if I can get here. Can you see a catch light in my eye? You can't see my lashes though, can you? Right? So what's more important, the catch light or the lashes? So that's why I shoot manual focus, because no autofocus super shallow will get me that catch light sharp. You'll zoom in, you'll see the lashes sharp. When you zoom out, always just doesn't quite bite. If on my manual focus using focus peaking on good cameras, I wait till I get a twinkle in the catch light. There's my sharpening. And that means my catch light's always sharp. If I'm shooting for a client and I need to do what I call a defocus, because most of the time I'm shooting manual, although if I'm shooting auto, what I'll do, I'll use my autofocus, and it might be on eye, and I'll just lean back a fraction and shoot. I'll pull my focus slightly forward to soften the skin. On something like the Sony, if I'm using a Leica lens or any of the manual focus lenses, I'll take a shot sharpened, shot wound, slightly back out. And 9 times out of 10, I'll always use the one that's just pulled off a fraction, because it just feels nicer, it feels softer. And it's that thing about creating art. And if you think about artists, paintings aren't sharp. And while we're trying to get this sharp, all we're doing is bringing every pore out of the skin, and no model wants every pore shown. And it makes the pictures. The final thing is I don't sharpen in my RAW at all, because then I'm going to sharpen imperfections that might need to be cleaned out. I don't sharpen my layered TIFF at all, because I don't know how it's going to be printed or how it's going to be viewed. If I sharpen, it's only once a client has said, we need this 1.2 meters by this, we need it, and it'll be sharpened for that to bring it so it's the same as what I shot it, not any sharper. And just to prove the fact very quickly, this picture here, if I go into my history and I go back to my save, I think that was my first save. Oh no, there it is. There's my save, come back to my layers. There is no sharpen layer at all in there. And that's the picture unsharpened. and that picture will never be sharpened unless I'm going to print it, and I'll sharpen it for the amount that's going to be lost in the printing process. So if it's on matte paper or gloss paper needs a fraction more sharpening because the ink takes a section that misses around a little bit. That's all I sharpen. I never take it past what the original picture was meant to be seen. Cool? I'll stop ranting now. Any questions? No, I've scared you all? All right. How many of you shoot in studios? How many of you use lights? We've got no idea in lights? A couple. All right. I'm just going to go through Beck, who's going to be modeling for us tonight. I told her to quickly, and this is how we normally work for any shoot. A model will come in if it's for a test shoot. So a shoot I've never worked with a model before. I've got a folder with about 4,000 photos in it, and the model will go through and pick out what she feels like doing. Now I won't copy them exactly, I'll just take the feel of those pictures. So Beck has picked these pictures out to sort of the mood that she's feeling in now. We don't have a black background, so I can play a trick and see if we can get something a bit black for these. But we might just start with an octabox, and I might just run with the first thing that confuses photographers is direction versus the power of the light. Cool? You right, Beck? So the program I'm using is I'm shooting on a Hasselblad. It's not my favourite Hasselblad. My favourite Hasselblads are sitting fire safes back in Australia because I've only got them, and if they get lost, I haven't got them. So I've just brought the mirrorless Hasselblad. I've just taken one test frame to make sure everything fired. I can already see my colour balance is shot. How this program works, whatever is on this screen down here will be applied to the next picture. Right, so if I go back to that picture, oops, if I go back to this picture, the next picture will be applied will be black and white. If I go back further to that picture, the next picture will be applied as those settings. So it's not like the last picture, it's whatever picture's on the screen will be applying that to the next picture. It just makes it really quick and easy when I'm doing demos. I am going to run this less like a commercial photographer, more like a artist. So things like color balancing, I'm just going to use the white wall. I can do all the color checker stuff, I've got it all, but you don't need it if it's only commercial work you need that for. For your own work you don't, you can just do it to your own color taste. Outside there's no proper color. Every 10 minutes the color changes. So there is no true color. In here we want to try and pull a bias out of the lights. And every different light and every different modifier will have a color tone to it. But when I'm doing black and white, I don't really care about either because I'll mess up my color balance just to get the toning of my black and white right. The way I work is I first get my exposure right, get my color right. Then while I'm doing that, I'm getting my light right at the same time. And that's one of the reasons why I don't use a light meter. A light meter is just telling you you've got a correct exposure. It doesn't tell you it looks any good. So you set up your correct exposure, then you take a picture and go, that looks crap. So it's a waste of time. I'd rather see my pictures come up and say, yeah, the exposure's wrong, but the light direction's wrong, and I fix two at the same time. I didn't decide which one I'm going to do. We might do that one. All right? Cool. So this is one of my pictures. So it's easy, but it's not easy because I shoot so many pictures. I even said to Beck, I can't remember what I used for that, but my guess is a large softbox, just because of the mutedness of the shadow. So a couple of things I look at when I'm looking at replicating light. I'm looking at the shape and the fall off of a shadow, also the catch light in an eye. Quite often, especially in fashion, we cheat, we put catch lights in later. So it mightn't have had a catch light, we might want to get some extra bang out of it, or we didn't like the catch light and we took it out. So with the catch light in the eye, I can see it's off to one side, it's sitting slightly high. When you're looking at catch lights, you've really got to remember our eye is shaped like that. So if it's a little bit here, it's actually a lot up here, right? For it to come right up to the edge, it's got to be super high. So once it comes off center, it's actually quite a bit moved. So to me, this is saying that the light is most likely about 45 degrees off to one side and might be sitting about a 45 to a head from above. And that will give me my base to start my lighting. She's reasonably close to a wall. For camera club photographers, is a really good thing to learn. It's impossible to put something near a wall and not cast a shadow. Don't try and take it out, it's impossible. If you want a white wall without a shadow, you bring your model out to here, then you light the wall. But if you want to shoot them near a wall, you're always going to get a shadow. Fashion loves shadows, so we don't have a problem with it. We actually push shadows harder. I might get you in here, Beck. So it's pretty easy for me because I'm pretty much shooting 5 days a week. So I get very quick at what I'm doing. So I've got to turn easy. And Beck knows I have the best gear in the world in my studio, so things like this I just have cranks that I wind, which makes my job easier. I'm just going to maybe, that's right, I've got to work to your nice side of your face, don't we? So, no, it's all right, we can't have your ugly side of your face. Just a quick one, I don't want to unplug you. I'm going to teach you lots of stuff. At the end of the day, like I said before, the lighting isn't important. Your subject's important. And people, I've watched so many photographers put a whole heap of effort, it's just going to keep rotating, into their lighting and then put no effort into their model. So while I'm doing this, I need to teach you a little bit about the importance of your model. So how many people in here like having their photograph taken? What, you don't? But then you're going to drag someone into your studio and try and get a beautiful picture of them? Do you know why you don't like your photograph taken? You blame your parents. It is, it's your parents' fault. What happened when you were a kid? Camera was lifted, smile. Remember that? You'd grit your teeth, part your lips, and whenever you saw the picture, you hated it. So that's what we've destroyed. Every single person in the world, it's the parents that did the damage. So I need to get that out. And if I just lift, even now, if I take this camera off here, it feels really comfortable, doesn't it? Can you feel straight away you're uncomfortable? Oh, it didn't fire. Right, but we're doing that to our models. So, number one, you actually understanding that you feel uncomfortable. When you lift your camera up to another person, you've just made them feel uncomfortable. What you've actually done is turned every uncomfortable muscle on this part of their face. So it's not going to be a good picture. And it doesn't matter what you say. I think I just crashed that. Go away. It doesn't matter what you say to the person, they're feeling uncomfortable. So your subjects are so important. So you've got to remember, whenever you're doing something, you've got to make them comfortable. So you don't know if you heard me say to Beck, oh, wrong side of your face. Because most women, even some guys, but more women, have a comfortable and uncomfortable side of their face. And if you start going to their uncomfortable side of the face, it's going to be camera and the uncomfortable side. Very quick cheat if you want to know. If you just look at their face, Beck's got a very round face. Right, so she's going to prefer her masculine side, which is the right. Feminine's on the left, on everybody. Some women show you what side's their comfortable side because they'll hang their hair on their comfortable side. Not Beck. She wants everyone to see her good side. But I know for a fact, if I come this side of her face, I'll get a good picture. And if I come this side of her face, That's why her boyfriend sleeps on this side of her. Doesn't want to wake up in the morning to that. So little things like that, those tiny little things I've learnt over years and years and years, make a big difference in your picture. So try and pick out, if you see them uncomfortable, you've got to do your work properly. You'll see me, I'll grab one of you later on, I'll stick you up here, you'll see how quick I'll get a picture out of you. And I'm not going to do like a Peter Hurley. He's amazing what he does. I take a little bit more time. He can do it in 3 frames. I can't. But again, it's getting the person comfortable. And that's the trick. So I'm just going to start off. And while I'm just setting up on the tripod, and the reason I set up on the tripod is because I can set up an exposure, a focus and my crop. I can just keep walking back and just hitting fire to get my exposure. So I'm going to shadow off to one side. I'm going to do 2 things at once. Where's my picture gone again? Where's today's storyboard? All right, so my shadow is too far away from it for a start. My exposure is wrong, shadow's too far away from the color balance is wrong. Let's cheat and fix that right now. Yeah, fix the color balance. Eyedropper tool. Anywhere you put the eyedropper tool, if you have something that should be equal parts red, green and blue, which means like a white wall, it will quickly just reset your color. If you're doing commercially, get a proper color checker, but I gather I know they've painted this wall within the last 2 years. I've only been here for what, 6 months? So I know it's fresh paint. In my studio, I know that my paint's just a little bit yellow on the wall, so I tend not to do the wall. I'll grab off the floor if I can. So this shadow's sitting a little bit to the side here compared to the other. Oh, it's fairly close. Maybe I need to step back a bit. The other thing I have is an overexposure warning. I use this on my cameras. I use this on everything. That's how I light. So I'm lucky enough on this program that I can set my overexposure warning where I want it to be, which is 245, not 255. On my Leica, I've set it 245. On the Hasselblad, I think that's set at 240. I don't know why I think that's just where it is. On Capture One, you can set it. On Lightroom, you can't. Ignore it. Lightroom is terrible. I need to send them an email and say, please fix it. Because you'll push it. It doesn't go off to 100% in all 3 channels. It's way too far. It's not telling you you've lost detail in one channel. So, and I've got more and more in my head that these companies, if they're not doing things, the louder we yell, the more chance I'll fix them. One thing, I have a massive complaint with Canon, Nikon, and Hasselblad. Because they're happy to give videographers all these tools, but if you're a photographer, no, you're not having them. They're in the camera, but we're not giving them to you. They're for video people. Why are they for video people? To allow them to get better exposure quicker. Why can't the photographers have them? Oh, because we want AI to do that in the future. Get off manual. Things like zebraing, highlight alerts, live histograms, all those things are so handy. And those 3 companies can't. If you own any one of those cameras, please send an email. Say, why do video people with the same camera have these settings and I don't have them? Can you please put it in there? Because it's unfair. And even worse, video people have scopes. And scopes are amazing. You don't know what it is, but once you start playing with scopes, you'll never look at a histogram again. Scopes tell you everything. And we should have them. And then even better if we get something like this camera, where you can have a scope and you can set up 2 layers of zebraing, so you can actually see in your scope where your whites are clicking, and you can see in your scope where the face tone is. It just makes it so easy to get an exposure. And if the sun comes in, it changes straight away. You can see it before you take a picture. But see, it's a whole new way of thinking about making your jobs easier to take great photos where you're in control, not the camera. Sorry, I harp on about this, but I really want things to get easier for you guys, because then you can create properly. All right, so turn up, bang. So I'm happy, I think, oops. Come on. Is that light turned off or do I unplug it? Oh, it's gone back to 10. I'm going to guess. One thing good about it being pre-focused, I don't even need to look. Straight away you'll see that we've got blue coming up. So that blue's telling me that one of my channels, now my channels is down here, this bottom area. So I'll put up there, one of my channels is over 245. And yes, the red channel is over 245. Right. So even though it's not hitting 255, I've still got detail there, but it's too close to the edge for me. It doesn't give me any, if Beck moves around a little bit, I might start getting 255. Once we lose detail, I won't go into a great deal of things. We've got 0 to 255, there's no numbers after. So once you hit 255, it means you've got no detail. So if you read 255 on my t-shirt, it means you don't have any threads. It's just pure white. And then when you bring your recovery down, it can't put threads back. It just turns white to grey. It doesn't put the thread back in there. So that's why I have 245. It makes sure that I have threads in my white. And make sure I have detail in the blacks at 14 or 15. But that's, to me, now going over. So I need to just turn that light down a touch. Hopefully that works. Oh, is that turning off every time I turn that? It did. What am I doing wrong? Do you know about the trigger? I'm not used to this trigger, but every time I turn it down, it turns the light off. See if it's on now. If I turn it down.
Which one is this?
See, it's turned the light off.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I love.
Oh, that's 2D. Okay, interesting. It's because it's not A.
Oh.
It's D and D is set to off. Now it's on. We're good now.
All right. Let's try that.
Now?
Yeah, let's try that.
D channel.
Oh, Smurf.
Now we should be able to turn it down.
Oh yeah, 9.1. Let's get that down to, let's try 6.8. On my camera, it was going off as well. We've got a little bit going off on her cheek. This is now getting close, but I don't want any. Right, so even there, we're hitting 245 on one channel red. So I could easily get away with that. But just for me, I still want this little bit of movement. And I always make it brighter later, but I want that flexibility that Beck can move. The one thing I haven't done, I'd normally put a piece of sticky tape on the floor, and I should, shouldn't I? No, not yet. So I'm thinking, I'm doing what I normally do. I'm looking at two things at once. That shadow needs to come a bit closer to you. All right, so I need to turn the light down a fraction. I need that shadow to come a touch closer to Beck. Can you take a little bit of a step back? Did both in the same time. I can't do that with a light meter. Light meter wouldn't have told me that. This is why I don't use a light meter. The other thing, cool. The other reason I don't use a light meter is they're not that accurate. That's looking better.
Are you doing manual focusing now?
No, I'm still in auto. So yeah, if you see me lift the camera and drop it, I'm just doing a back button autofocus. I'm not. Well, I resigned as an ambassador for Hasselblad, so they can't yell at me anymore. Their focus peaking is terrible. So I find when I'm manually focusing, it takes me 5 or 6 shots to find out how much yellow in the eye, and there it is there. And then I can, at f8, it'll be fine if I manually focus, but I've got used to it being very sloppy. I'm so used to being able, as soon as I see a glint in the eye, I know the eye's razor sharp. It doesn't happen with their focusing. Again, they would rather you use auto. All right, so I'm happy with that. The shadow's sitting where I want it. I can make better for the skin. Let's have a look at the other picture. So what's the biggest difference you can see in this picture? Except black and white. You can't say that. See how this cheek is much more filled in? Right? But there's only one catch light in the eye. And this is why I quickly wasted my time before I made a V flat up. Because if I brought another light in, it would give me another catch light. It would also give me another shadow. So every single light will give you a highlight and a shadow. If I just bring this V flat in and have it in front, if I have it in front of her, so it's not affecting the shadow, so the back of the V flat is not, it's still allowing the shadow and not going to fill the shadow, but the front of this light hopefully is going to fill back in a bit more. See the difference? Most of my photography improved the day that I said I'm going to spend a weekend in my studio, hire a couple of models for the whole weekend and go back to one light and learn how to light properly. I was going up to 13 lights and using light meters and doing, my work was perfectly lit but boring. There's no soul, and one light was creating another problem. It was always fixing the problem that those lights were causing. I've now found if I can't light with one light, I've got a problem. I'm the problem. Well, I'm not talking about backgrounds, I'm talking about the actual subject. Doesn't matter what I can do any lighting with one light. And the more you spend a little bit of time fine tuning, and I still got to fine tune this more, but you saw the difference that just added by dropping a V flat in there. Now I don't like silver because silver, you turn it on or off. That's all it is, it's on or off. With a whiteboard, you can turn it up and you can turn it down. And that's why I like whiteboards. And they don't add another catch light, all they do is fill shadow. So this is one of the, and this is something in the 80s and 90s, V flats were one of the most common thing used. And all of a sudden, all the lighting companies want to sell you more light, so instead of using V flats. But hopefully they're going to see how quick and easy I made this. They're going to make some and sell them to you about $1,000 a pair, I reckon. And you'll make a much bigger profit out of than Pro Photo. But to me, this is the trick. We've only have one sun in the world. The amount of amazing photos we can take with that one sun, if we learn how to use a light and then learn how to use the V flats. The other thing I was going to talk about very quickly, this is about direction of light and power of light. So I know you can't see Beck now, but the light is pointing across her. The power of the light is coming into here. Beck is living off the feather off the light. So because I can throw so much power into the V flat, that's going to bounce back and fill in the other side. Whereas if I pointed it at Beck, I haven't got the power to bounce back from anywhere. So a lot of the feathering in the past was done, I don't know why that was done because it never worked. But it works when you actually bring a reflector there. The direction of light's always going to be the direction from the light to the model. So it doesn't matter where I turn the light, the direction is always going to be the direction it takes from to the model. But now if I throw the power there, I now have a fill to fill in my problems. So I'm just going to try and take this another level. So just by moving this up a bit, I'm going to slide it back a little bit. I just want to fine tune it, and the difference, you saw that little, look at that little move I made, look at the difference in the face. It's so subtle. This is this thing that has got me to where I am as a photographer. In my early days, I'd be happy with that first, now 5 minutes of me moving things till I'm happy. My clients will quite often walk in first frame, oh my God, that's amazing. Nah, 20 minutes, this is horrible. I said, but it's going to take, no, 20 minutes, and when they see 20 minutes later, they go, oh my God. And that's the art. Photography is painting with light. That's what it means in Greek, painting with light. And you need to do as much as you work here, so you don't have to waste time in Photoshop and Lightroom and crap like that. And that's what I do. So I'm going to just use my eyes. So, yep.
I was saying that what I take out of this is that the V here is the key compared to standard reflectors.
Yeah, because the V, number one, I can control the front light, and I can control where it falls off onto the background. So the back V allows how much is going to hit the wall. So I'm blocking that, and the front V will be the angle that I can work it. Even to the point where some of my lighting is just V-flats. I just get a bare bulb and put straight into a V-flat. And then where I point the bulb within the V-flat will change things, so it'll bounce here and then reflect off here. And then the angle, I get so much more directional control than I can out of a softbox. Like, I love using V-flats. To me, he's gonna hate me because it's really cheap. But one of the tricks is if you save money on this, you'll come back and buy another camera anyway. So he's going to make the money off you regardless. Or you've got money for him to print up your big prints because now you're selling them. As photographers, we're always going to spend money on gear. So let's spend it on the gear that makes us feel good, not the gear that they want us to sell us.
Do you always use the white V-flat?
Yeah. Well, I got white and black. So I'll use the black when I want a negative. Now, I'll try and do something a bit later. We've got a guy in Australia, Les Walkling, who is he's a scientist. He's a full-on scientist. You sit and go to one of his lectures, you go to sleep. He knows every number between everything he says. And he came to one of my workshops with his son one day and he goes, Peter, you use this word sucking. It's impossible to suck light off something. I said, well, explain how else I'd say it. And he goes, it's sucking. So with black, you can literally suck light off them. So a bit later, I'll see if I can quickly get it in so you can see the effect of, is when you bring black in, it literally pulls the light off them. And when I work with the white, I predominantly shoot black and white. I think there's people out there that you could paint them yellow if you want to get a warm glow off it, but I don't think I'd like to do that personally. Yeah, anything that serves as a reflector doesn't work because it'll actually add a highlight. So if I come into Beck now, see how there's a highlight on this side of the nose? See how there's not a highlight on that side of the nose? If I used a silver or gold, we would have had a highlight because the light would have come back stronger than the light that came on that point. But even look in her eyes, can you see you can see a nice glow in her eyes? Whereas if you had a reflector there, you'd definitely see a reflector sitting there. And look how beautiful that shadow's been pulled off. And these are these things that too much of the lighting in the past has been pushed by selling stuff, whereas if you can learn to use one light, and it doesn't matter what light, I love large octas, but I can do the same. If you want, once as soon as we finish this and you're all happy with it, I'll pull the octabox off and do this with a bare bulb. And get a beautiful light off a straight bare bulb with no softbox. And he's going to kill me then. He's not going to sell a head now. From here, I'm just looking, whenever I'm looking at a picture, I'm looking at what don't I like, what do I want to fix. I know that I'm pretty close to going over. I'm half a stop. I'm normally within a third of a stop, but I'm not going to change much. I'm liking where the shadow's sitting. I maybe cropped too much above her head. I'm looking at all the things to finish my picture. So I don't know if any of you have seen painters work. They get a big canvas, they paint the picture, then they get a pair of scissors and cut it out. Have you ever seen a painter cut his picture out of a canvas? No, I haven't. That's what photographers do. Crop. My viewfinder's my painting. The 3 pictures I put up before, that's how they were shot. Because I'll see them and I'll move in, I'll find my picture because it tells the story. When you crop it later, the picture changes. It's not the picture you saw through the viewfinder. So I'm very much about cropping my picture in the viewfinder. I work commercially and I've never had a client say, oh, I wish you kept more in there. Because the emotion was made with what I saw through the viewfinder. So I'm just going to crop this more to how I want to see this. I'm thinking I'm going to make it slightly softer. So I've moved my camera slightly this way with the light. So the more I shoot direction of the light, the more even and soft it's going to end up on back. I'm just going to refocus. I'm going to crop. Do we want the Gucci? I don't care. You don't care? Cool. setting up. And I don't care how long this takes me, because once I've got this set up, cool. Can you see this light's a little bit softer on her face? I did nothing but move the camera. Lesson number 2. We can change the light with the camera. Right? Changing nothing but moving the camera. Cool. Crop's a little bit different, but look at the difference. How many of you move the camera? So a lot of my clients, they always have a go at me, I'm so freaking expensive. It's most expensive by the hour compared to anyone else. But they'll come in and I'll set up my light and I'll get 6 or 7 different lightings for them without touching anything, just move the camera. Because the angle of the light and the angle of the camera and where the model is, no matter where you move, it's going to change every little bit. So if I shoot with the light, right, it's going to fill in her face. Her nose is more towards the light. We're going to fill in that shadow. The more I move this way, the more shade we get on this side of her face. And you see straight away that's a different shot. And now I can come right around here. Now I've got an exposure. I can come around here. This could look really ugly, girl, sorry. I think it will be. Oh no, I don't like the nose. But see, it's a different light. And if I come around here, this will be prettier, except it's the wrong side of your face. And there's this one. We can make this work. No, you're fine. I just want to get a white background on you. Cool. I'm going to cut off the back of your head though. Right. See how many different looks I got without touching the light? Just me moving. The best way to learn lighting is number 1, what does every musician do when they start playing? It's the first thing they do. Learn covers, other people's songs, copy them, isn't it? Very first thing a musician does is play other people's music. Then as they get better, they'll then change it to their style. Right? That's what you need to do. Learn your skills by copying, maybe not show the world until you make it yours. So maybe copy it exactly, learn that skill, then say, all right, let's copy that. Let's see if I take 2 steps this way and you pose differently, it's now my picture. And that's now you doing a reversion of the cover. But once you start doing that, the more you do it, the more your eye's going to say, oh, I prefer this. And that's your style. And that's how you learn. It's time in the studio. I have dyslexia really bad. Just ask Beck every day. I'll say that word is that, and she goes, no, it's not. She always picks on me. I can't help it. I was born with it. My parents thought that I was going to be a bum. And my mum today, she's 86, still says, I cannot believe what you've done. We thought you were just going to be a bum because every school wanted to kick you out. Letters in front of me, the more pressure under, the more that's there, they just jumble. Teachers trying to teach me things, no, just my brain does not work. But put me in a studio, let me learn my way, and that's what you should be doing. Get into a space, learn your way. Play with a bit of light. Well, that worked, that didn't work. You'll only learn by your mistakes. You won't learn by what you get right, you'll only learn by what you get wrong. So I might just finish this other picture off so you can at least see a finished version. So I did like it slightly closer to this light because it just softened off Beck's face a bit more. I might make this more let me come in and make it more a headshot with this. Cool. That's really pretty. And you'll notice I've cropped the top of her head off. So that really upsets people. If you look in fashion magazines, we do it all the time. So top of heads are pretty ugly. There's another reason for this. I haven't cropped it where I want it. I've got to do that. I need to crop down a fraction lower. Cool, come on camera. Cool, they're beautiful. So come down and touch more. Later on, if you've got some pictures of yourself where you've left heaps of room, come in and crop the top and bring it down to here, and you watch your eyes change in your picture. They will get stronger. Right, so that's the reason we crop in there, adds this intensity. This is also why I do it in camera, because that's the shot I want. I don't want to think what's it going to be later on when I crop it. Now, what you can do though, is if once you start lifting the top, it takes the intensity away. This is another reason why I don't want to crop afterwards, because it's not the picture I was trying to take. And all these things are things that you need to train your own eye. I can talk all the time, but until you start to see it yourself, then you'll see why, what I mean. As you move that crop, it changes the power of the eyes. Now I've got this to here. I'm going to do, let's zoom in and see if it's a good picture or not. All right, so one thing I want to show you, see the sharpening? See it's ticked here? It's ticked with 0. Right, I do not sharpen my raws, as I said before. Watch what happens if I just put a little bit of sharpening on this. Those lashes don't feel real anymore. I've never seen lashes that far with my own eyes on anybody. So just by adding that bit of sharpening in there has done that to me. That's why I don't sharpen. That feels exactly about the same sharpness of me looking at my hand. So that's perfect for me. With this, I'd either be working to my client or I could be working as me for the client. So I'm going to run through my look here. Now, you're going to hate me because this program allows me to do things that you can't do anywhere else. But I have worked out ways of doing this in Lightroom. But I can't do it in Capture One, sorry. I've been trying for 2.5 years. I cannot get my look out of Capture One. I can't break it. And I need to break it to get my look. But the first thing I want to do is, there's a big problem in this picture, it's called color. So let's get rid of that. Now, main thing that I love, and this is the only program available now that has red, green, blue channel in RAW. No other program has it. Again, start sending messages to whoever you use and say, why? Our cameras capture red, green, blue. Why can't I have my 3 channels? Don't give me magenta, orange, yellow, all these others. That's not what my sensor is getting. And the reason being is I can do amazing things with red, green, blue channel. Just get that up so you can see it. So at the moment, this is on the default. How red, green, blue channel works, or channel mixer in Photoshop, which you can use. So if the 3 channels equal 100, we have the same exposure. If they equal 99, it's a bit darker. If we equal 101, it's a bit brighter. So it's all on the, if I just go straight out all red channel, which will add contrast. It'll also mean if she has pimples or rosacea or any redness in her skin, we just cleaned it up instantly because it's made anything red lighter. But it's also, if we look at our color wheel, anything the opposite to red has gone darker. So if she has blue veins in her skin, they will come out like black. But the red channel or red filter, which is used with black and white, is quite often used for fine art nudes on a rock. So they get a naked woman, lay her on a rock, take a picture, going red channel, she'll end up really white, and the sky will go pitch black. They get that look. Next channel is green channel. Green channel will bring out detail. When I mean detail, it brings out all the shape. It'll also make lips, if she's wearing red lipstick, her lips will go black. If she had pimples, the pimples would stand out a lot more. Any reddish color imperfection will stand out a lot. Then the blue channel sort of adds a noise, but not like digital noise, it's a color noise. And on certain skins, especially Greeks, blue channel works really, really nice. It adds this nice, beautiful bit of depth you can play with later. And then you can do mixtures of any of them, like the default, which I started off with, will be like it's 21 to 72, 7. I have another one which is 50-50 red and green. So you can make up whatever you want. But for me, I use green channel a lot. It's one of my favorite, and it's the filter I used to put on my black and white cameras years ago for shooting people. So now I've got this, I'm happy with that. The next thing I want to do is I want to get a little bit more chrominess in her skin. And this is the second reason you're going to hate me. There's another, all right, so you're going to hate me, but imagine having the best chocolate in the world and then it gets taken away from you. But everyone who never ate that best chocolate in the world doesn't care. Well, I don't think this program will be around for much longer, so it's going to get taken off me. And I wish somebody would redo, well, there was another program that was called Aperture, but nobody bought it. It did all of this stuff. It was an amazing tethering program, but nobody bought it, so Apple said, no, don't worry about it, goodbye. And it had all these features in it. Next feature is I have the best one-point curve in the world. Look, I can't break it. No matter what I do, I can just do 1 point. I don't have to do 20, 30 points down around it. So I want to slightly chrome the skin, and what chrome means is like this bar here, anything that's chrome, you'll see it goes from white to grey very quickly. So what it is, it's adding contrast to your highlights. So a lot of time when people are adding contrast, they're doing your typical S-curve, and what that's doing is pulling contrast out of the highlights, pulling contrast out of your shadows, and putting contrast into the mids. Well, I don't want that. I just want to add some contrast into the highlights, which will slightly chrome up the skin. So you can see it sort of gets this fall off a bit quicker. Now I can come in here, I can fix that problem by two ways. The picture's gone a bit darker. It's mainly the mid-tones that's changed. So I can either grab in here and move my mid-tones to fix that. Or I have this luxury, the next thing I want to do is just make, my blacks are sitting all right, but I want to just get a little bit more detail in my blacks. I'm going to pull this down a touch more. And you all know about Clarity tool? You would never use Clarity for beauty, would you? On skin? Maybe if I zoom in a minute. Sorry, back. There's 100% clarity. All right, there's no trick. This was the original Clarity in Hasselblad. All the landscape photographers and all the still life photographers hated it. So they changed it, and then I got the email, and emailed like crazy, and they put it back in for me. V1 means Peter Coulson. And Hasselblad, if you listen to a webinar, they agreed, V1 is Peter Coulson. It would not be there if it wasn't me screaming. Because they've all got V2 and V3, and if I don't even need to zoom in now, that's the clarity you're expecting, isn't it? So what the problem with the new Clarity is, it is wide sharpening. That's all it's doing is wide sharpening, and I didn't want any sharpening. It's fine for landscape. It's all right a bit for wildlife and things like that. It'll pop them out of fraction. You can use it a little bit in still life and things like that. That's fine. But for people, it's disgusting. The V1 gives me, what's the difference when I click it to V1? V1 gives you localized contrast, no sharpening. So all it does is contrast between anything black and white, and just gives me this beautiful pop. Now I can do this in Lightroom now. I have to use the circular gradient filters, and I'm using dehaze a little bit, and I'm using curves to create the same thing. It's taking me about 3 or 4 lassos to get the same look, but at least I can get this look now, where it was about 6 layers in Photoshop to get a similar look. But this allows me just to pop up. See that beautiful pop I can just get on her skin? And once I get this to a picture that I'm happy that it's finished, and my client then, yeah, see, I'm happy with that. My client then will sign off it and say, yeah, love that, it's perfect. So now I can actually shoot. We have a finished picture. Now the client's seeing finished work before we start shooting. Or like myself, I can set up how I want to do it, then start shooting it. Now the tether cables are a pain, but I have the ability to create like an artist, take my time, look at what I'm doing. When I'm with my Leica out in the field, I can't. I just got to use the back screen and have an idea what I'm going to do in post. But I'm still used to working that, and with the H6 series out in the field, I'm looking through a color viewfinder. I need to take a picture and look on the back. With something like a Leica, I can set my viewfinder to black and white. It's all going to be reacting to my actually shutter and aperture. All of that's going to change in there. I've got a highlight alert that tells me straight away she's overexposed. She's just moved a bit and overexposed. And I've got a live histogram in the viewfinder. So I'm pretty much creating except the very fine detail at the end. I think this is what we need. The more a camera talks to me and the more a camera can give me feedback, the better of an artist I can be. It's not like taking a picture hoping that when I get it back later, I can work on it. But if I just continue on with this now and put the pressure on the model, kill the shots, cool. And that's really pretty, that's really pretty. Cool, nice, nice, that's really nice. Cool, that's beautiful, nice. I keep talking the whole time. You can see every picture is going to have my settings on it. If I quickly change my idea, what messed up thing have I got up here somewhere? Sure, I have something messed up. Oops, I can't go too high, can I? No. I thought I might have had a weird color set up in the background. I could have jumped on that and show you, but even if I clicked on this here now and took a picture, you ready, Beck? Yeah. Right, the next picture will come up color. Oh, that's cool. Teal and yuck. Teal and pink. Everyone comfortable with that? Right, so if I just do a very quick change on this, I think the easiest way is if I just everyone can see what I've got. Let's see what we can do with this. So the amount of people that think I'm crazy just using a bare bulb. Oh, you can't see it from over there, sorry. I'm just going to spin this bare bulb into the V flat. Now it's also going to have a lot more power than the soft octabox before. Let's just, oh no, better get, let's get it back onto. All right, that's not as bad looking as your first thought it was going to be, is it? It's just a bare bulb now. So if we go to, say, that picture, the shadow, of course, is going to be sharper because the bare bulb is much finer. But I've feathered the bulb across. Look at, we've got a slightly sharp shadow on her nose, so let's work this. So maybe we don't want, let's kill some of that shadow on the background. Let's grab some of that front light. See how I just softened that shadow off? Just by moving that V flat. Right? And that started to soften off. And you're thinking about bare bulbs, you'd never use it to light like that, would you? Run across the front of somebody. But we're just using the very edge of this bulb. So I can turn this a bit further around. If I bring it in a little bit, oops, there's something blocking me from doing that. Let's bring this forward a bit. I didn't set this up very well, nobody can see back. Oh, she's happy. Right, so just look at the slight movements I've just made. Look how big a difference that did. When you learn how to use light, it's not so much about the modifier. The modifier is going to soften the shadow. I'm still going to get a beautiful light out of this. And I'm liking where that's going, so let's see if we make it better. If I bring it a bit further forward. Anybody who wants, you can jump over here with these seats if you want to see what we're doing. Sorry, don't block you. So I brought this further forward. So that's going to, where the direction of the B1 is pointing around about to here now. So which means I'm going to kick a lot more back on the background. Back almost I go a little bit darker, but I'll do the test shot first. Oh no, it went a bit sharper, didn't it? Well, it's pretty much the same. Didn't really change much. So let's punch that light up. Might just tilt that a bit further forward. All right, so that lost me light and evened her out. Cool. Bang. You wouldn't think that was lit with a bare bulb, would you? All right, all I've done now is just got a nice sharper shadow. Got a little bit of a nose shadow, which is a bit of a problem, but I could fix that if I take my camera off the tripod. So if I come and work with the light, cool, that's really pretty. So just by moving my camera more to the direction of the light, it's put the shadow in, but see, it's fixed up no shadow. And a lot of things I'm doing, you see I'm actually telling you before I do something. Because I've done it so many times, my brain's going like, oh, that's a problem, I need to bring this around here. That's only through experience. You can't read this in a book. You can't watch it on YouTube. You have to spend time doing it yourself. As much as I can teach you so much stuff, you go home and forget about it all. Right? So there's a thing called learn, then do. Too many people do learn, 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 learn without doing. So all that learn was a waste of time. Learn something, watch something on YouTube, learn it, go do it. And if it's not right, go back and watch that YouTube again, go back and do it. If it's not right, it's a shitty YouTube channel, find something else. Right, but it's really important that the time that you're behind a camera is more important than even watching YouTube, even reading any book. If you can't find a model, I'm certain you've got wives, kids, neighbours. There's always someone you can shoot. Right? Everyone has excuses. I have this thing during COVID because I had to go through, we're in the most lockdown city in the world. 265 days locked in your house. You're allowed 1 hour a day to go out. That was it. Nobody was allowed to enter your house. No family, no friends. Couldn't see my son, my daughter, anything. Right, so it's really easy to come up with all these reasons why you can't do things. Well, I had came up with a thing towards the end of COVID was the best way to handle I can't is take the T off it. It's really easy to tell you the reasons why you can't do something. It's very hard to take that T off and say you can do and find a way around doing it. And to me, that's the most important thing. Everybody will give me excuses why they can't do something. No, find a way around it. Cool? All right. What are we going to do with you now? Although we've only got, so we've got Q&A at about quarter to, wasn't it? So I've got about 15 minutes. Maybe, all right, let's just maybe, I'm going to swap this around. Beck, do you want to grab me a client? A client. Go out to the crowd and find me a client. Yeah, I want a client. Go find me one. Yeah, because I'll pick the prettiest person. You pick me a client.
Does anyone want?
No, you can't do that. That's not a client. You don't like pressure, do you?
I don't really know in front of people.
How many people know about Beck? She hasn't got a glass of wine in her hand, so she can't make a decision. I'm just going to get rid of this out there. Can we just pick anyone?
I think someone. I think someone.
So you got wine out the back, you've run out, I'll get it. All right. So this is me on a commercial shoot. Right. The amount of people that say it's all right for you, you have beautiful models to shoot. You know, we can never do what you're doing. It's all right for you, you have a Hasselblad. It's all right for you, you have a massive studio. I don't always have a massive studio. I don't always have Beck handy. Most of my clients never look like Beck. And as I showed someone on a workshop 3 days ago, I challenged them, I'll take a better picture with my iPhone than they'll take with their Nikon. I won. I set up the lighting, I did everything. It was just natural light, but I set it all up for them. And I went in there, didn't say a word to the model. Got a picture, I went in there, made the model feel amazing. Take a picture, my picture beat theirs 10 times over. See, it's got nothing to do with the camera. Don't turn, don't turn. Oh. Why don't manufacturers put a flat spot so it will sit? Don't move, cool. So now that I've got this gentleman here, first I've got to work out what's the reason he's in here. So why is he my victim? So what do you do for a living?
I work security up here.
Security. All right. So you work for somebody else?
Yeah.
All right. If you were to have your own business, what would you do?
To have your job.
Photographer. Cool. All right. So we got another. It's all right. No, it's all right. I'll bring him off the background. It's all right. I'll improvise. We'll bring him up to me. All right, so we're going to do a couple of things. So because the light won't play, I said there's no such thing as can't. I'm going to put up with the light as it is. It won't go where I want it to go, so I'll just shoot it where it is. There's no such thing as can't. Do you want to come up to me a bit? Cool. So if you were going to be a full-time photographer, what would you be shooting? What would you want to shoot?
Long exposure, people moving.
People moving, long exposure. And what did you do it out in the streets and that?
In their own settings, in their own arenas.
Cool. And what magazines would you like to be published in? Like what magazine would like be, to me, like being in something like Numero or Vogue would be my go-to. What would be your go-to?
That's a good question. Anyone would buy it.
Anybody would buy it. Well, all right, so what magazine would you actually feel really proud? You actually had the cover in, you got the cover of the magazine.
Would be Sports Illustrated.
Sports Illustrated, cool. Can you see what I'm doing? So the entire time setting up, I slightly overexposed him. You didn't expect the light to look like this, did you? I just had to deal with what I've got. So while I'm talking to him, are you into sports or anything as well? Have you got another hobby?
Does it look like it?
Oh, so you're into drinking? Well, drinking and eating, so you get well with me. Cool, that's awesome. Can you already see what I'm getting? So that's cool. I'm looking at that. We've got the background grey, a little bit flat, isn't he? A little bit flat and even. So maybe if we just pull off, just want to come over this side a bit, just take a step there. So, see, to me, I'm right into motor racing. I absolutely love motor racing. You've seen my setup, have you? Unfortunately, I've been on it twice this year. I'm not joking. And I keep saying to Beck, things have to change. You want to take another step this way? Because it's what my one passion is. I definitely don't have enough time to go on the track. I'd love to be tracking all the time. Cool, I'm liking that better. I've got a little bit of room. I'd love to be shooting on, driving on track, but I can't, so I don't have much time. That's why I have a sim in my room, and I've already decided what, oops, sorry, that wasn't meant to happen. While Beck's on long service leave, so I go back from Europe and then Beck returns 3 years later. She's doing every doof imaginable. Why I'm setting up a client, cool. It's looking better. Let's get a nice edge into him. Cool. I just keep talking. So what camera do you own?
I've got a Nikon.
Nikon?
Yeah.
And do you have a family?
Yeah.
Cool.
Wife and 2 kids.
2 kids? The kids' names?
Jonas and Siv.
Cool. How old are they?
19 and 22.
A pain in the butt?
Oh yeah.
Can you see what I'm doing? Right, I will do this for half an hour. Anything from now on is me crapping. I'll move things back and forward, same place. I've got the light where I want it. I'm just going to talk crap with him, get him relaxed, keep shooting. Nobody likes their photo taken. You saw what I did. I couldn't get the light to say where it was, so I'll just live where it is. I can move that light and work with the light no matter where it points, I can get a nice light. I pulled him off the background because our extension cable didn't come long enough. See how I work. Take the T out of can't. Find a way to do. And seriously, I already know, I'm certain, give me another half an hour with him and I'll have him topless. And we'll have him on Sports Illustrated. You can head in if you like.
Question. Because now you're taking photo while you talk to him and while he's relaxing, but for portrait you ask them to do something special for have that look you want, because if you just go talk to him and wait, that look comes, maybe it will take more than half an hour.
Yeah, no, all right, so when you're talking about when I'm working with professional models? Or amateur models? Or both?
Both.
All right, so if I'm working with professional models, there's a few things I do. I've got my own tricks straight away to relax them, because I know the camera in their face is going to upset them. So straight away, I can just come up to you. Do you have any pets? Do you have any animals, pets? You're no good. Do you have any pets? Cats or dogs? A dog, there, perfect. Look at her face right now. What's the name of your dog? Look at her eyes, bang. So with any model, if they've got a dog, I've won, straight away. Beck's a cat person. But she did own a dog and she loves her dog, but I'm not going to bring her out because she cheated on me the other day, and as she's talking about her cat, she thought about her dog, so her face lit up. So I've learned different things to find. This is just to relax them. Then I'll set a story. So quite often, especially with more the commercial type of models I'm working with, I say to them, where are you right now? And if they say in a studio, I say you failed out. No, where are you? Where's your favourite place in the world? You all think about it. Think about your favourite place in the world. See how you feel? Instant, right? Who's in front of you? I'm not talking about a man or a woman. It could be a dog, could be whatever. Who's in front of you? What are you looking at right now? What's amazing? And with some models, I might have to do a word association, and I just watch their muscles in their eyes. And I might say Chanel, Louis Vuitton. If there's nothing, I might go into things like, I'll find something, brothers, sisters, animals. I'll find something, and it might be laying on a beach in Bali. It might be at some bush doof. Like she loves her doofs. So I'll find that connection, but we still bring back. So if I have a story in my head, and it might be, I want this really melancholic look. I want you to just pretend you're gazing out a window, or you're in a little farmhouse gazing out a window, and you watch this little deer running through the forest. And you can see it might be looking for I tell a story that's very simple to try and get an emotion, which is the emotion I'm trying to put in there. A lot of this isn't super easy, but you learn how to do it. There's no shortcut for any of this.
I watched some of your videos on breaking models.
Well, I've been told off. I'm not allowed to use the word breaking models. But it's not like I'm not going out to run out in front of a train after the shoot. I'm trying to take away their bad habits. And so the habits they've got working with other photographers to the habits I need them working with me. The supermodels do not go click, bang, click, bang, click. They do not work like that at all, because it's soulless. And every model that I wish I had a model here right now that I hadn't worked with. If I said to her, how many times on shoots have you been on where you've gone, wonder what I'm going to have for dinner tonight? Imagine how rubbish those photos are going to be. That's not, I need this story between them. I can't tell them too much. I can't say Justin Bieber's in front of you, so I don't know if they like him or hate him. But I can set the stone for them to tell a story. And it is a breaking, so I want to take that still, click, move, click, move. There's other models that haven't been doing it very long. We call it the windscreen wiper. So it's 2 to the left, 2 to the right, 2 to the left, and that's what they'll do all day, which means you've got nothing. You've got the Macarenas, the girls that just do the Macarena, and they do that same Macarena dance the whole time. Again, it's soulless, and as soon as they go into modeling, you don't have a soul anymore. Because that's not them, it's them modeling. So what I'm trying to do is take them out of that, this continual slow movement. I talk about them touching, because if you touch, any of you can try it in your own time. Just try and draw the slowest circle you can on your arm. Now try and think about something. You can't. It's impossible. It instantly relaxes. Things like do a few drift, do your poses, and then when you feel the camera starting to make your face tighter, close your eyes, empty your head, then come back in. The first shot when I open your eyes, bang. I can very quickly show you how my models work. So, videos. This is Tess, who's a model from Rome. I've only ever only worked with her whenever I travel. So I work with her once a year. This year I'm working with her twice. She met up with us in Paris, and we're going to see her in Amsterdam, I think. This was from last year. We were in an Airbnb, which was a horrible Airbnb. We moved out after a couple of days. It was just natural light. She was laying on a bed, backlit, handheld. This is, if you watch her carefully, so I can take a shot there, shot there, shot there, shot there, shot there, shot, 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 shot. See how she's not telling me when to take a picture. I'm looking, going, oh, there's a picture. Oh, but a lot of photographers say, hold, hold, hold. You've just wrecked it. This is so, look how beautiful she's moving. We have to get our skill better to grab those shots. As soon as we tell them to hold, we've lost that emotion. It's gone. And she's got her own game in her head. Right, so what's going through her head? I've got no idea. All I'm doing is giving her some feedback. This is gorgeous, this is beautiful, stunning, cool, cool, cool. I love just that, and just keep her drifting and grabbing the shots that I want. I do not stop. I never ever stop. Right? It doesn't matter what you say either. So I had somebody on one of the workshops many years ago said, I never know what to say. I said, just say anything. He goes, but I don't know what to say. I said, just say the word anything. I said, you just go, anything, 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 anything. Guess what? It works. No, I'm serious. There's one of my favourite photographers, a high-end fashion shooter in London, Nick Knight. If you haven't heard of him, look him up. He's had a Pirelli calendar. You can't get a Pirelli calendar unless you're friggin' good. He's still running day, shot every supermodel in the world. He shoots all the covers. He just says, yep. That's it. Yeah, 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 yep, 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 yeah, yeah. That's all he says. He's shooting Kate Moss, Naomi Campbell. It doesn't matter. It's the rise and the fall of the way your voice is going. That's all. They're not actually listening to, none of the models listen to a word I say. If I say to them, what do I just say? Oh, I don't know, but I heard this moan in the background. It keeps me comfortable. And that's all it is. And I learnt very quickly, if I didn't give feedback, it's dead. Anybody who's doing the workshops, yes, I'm going to teach heaps of lighting. Guess what? That's like that much of being good. I teach a lot of working with the models. That's what makes the difference. And because I'll be working with models I've never met before, you'll see me break them. And you'll see what I say to models. And you go, how, he just called her ugly. She didn't hit him though. She actually smiled at him. Because they don't want me to walk up and go, oh, you're really pretty. You just scared them. They're so much more comfortable if I just go, oh shit, I'm going to have to work hard today. They'll laugh. So instantly I've got them on my side. Instantly, yeah, I just stir and joke. Yeah, maybe not everyone else can get away with it, but Beck used to say to them, so any model that came in, they'd meet Beck first, and she'd go, he's a little bit different. You'll have never met a photographer like him. Thanks, Beck. They're walking and sort of doing this. But it's seriously, because I'm so different, I can get my picture. They relax so quickly. The first thing I do is teach them how bad a model they are. And they say straight away, I wish someone told me this 10 years ago. Nobody teaches this stuff. It's a simple little thing about what their feet do. And once I show them that, they go, wow, why doesn't people teach this? Because this makes such a big difference to me. And I just go through all of, I already know how to make someone feel uncomfortable and ugly. I can just do this, and you're going to get really uncomfortable very quickly, aren't you? Right? How do I make them feel what beauty feels like? It's so much different. If I walk in, they're not going to feel beautiful with me. But I found a trick about dropping the head. And they drop it until like, oh, that feels nice there. Now, how'd you learn this? And all you girls get your camera up and do selfies, and you're dropping your head all the time. This is what you do to do a selfie, so start doing this for the photographer. Let us be the extension of your arm. Let us click when you look good, because you can't see when you look good. We can see. But if we tell you to stop, it's just like empty. And any of the models I train, they're pretty much told, if a photographer says hold, it means, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not very good at this. I'm willing to lose this picture because I can't get a focus. So really, you've got to get better. If you're shooting wildlife, you can't tell the owl to sit there. Just hold a minute with that. Don't grab it yet, I'm not ready. So it's that thing, it's like sports. You've really got to be aware. There's a lot of photographers who leave both eyes open, especially with that camera, I have to. Because the blackout time's just so long, I see nothing. So I keep both eyes open. This eye watches my cropping and my focus peaking. This eye's watching what she's doing. So I can click even if my blackout hasn't finished. And again, all these things take time. You can't expect to learn a piano in 1 year. But everyone thinks they can learn photography in 1 year.
Do you
So,
sometimes use music as well?
sorry?
Do you sometimes use music?
Yes, all the time. But you can't pick it.
Okay,
They have to pick it, but a lot of times,
for setting the mood.
yeah, so many people say, well, we say even on our YouTube and that, sorry, we can't use our normal tricks with music because of the copyright that YouTube has. So we'll just use stock music. They're not going to get motivated by a song they've never heard before. So they pick songs that motivate them, and if we're trying to do something beautiful and they put Rammstein on, I'll either find a ballad by that band, and they do, or Metallica. I can always find their band and find a soft song to work in as a nice sort of a nice journey. I've also, if they're into heavy metal, I've got a classical piece that gets them every time, because it's like metal, but it's all with violins and it's got this beautiful roll, and I can get the model in on that roll. If they're into emo punk, I just send them home. There's nothing I can do. So we're at the Q&As. Is there questions? Surely you got some questions. Most of these shots are coming, like that's just an Airbnb natural light in Paris. That's just single octa. I can name every single picture if you want, but I think mostly better asking me questions, or I can just talk.
Do you ever use stories to shock?
Stories?
To shock the models? I remember Avedon once, the king that abdicated, he loved dogs, and he just told him that he ran over some dogs on the way there, and he got exactly the expression he wanted.
No. I've got a series called Cry, but I didn't kill anyone's dog, get them to cry. No, I think the models would leave if I did something like that. Look, some of the stuff that Avedon did, Penn did, and all of those, in those days, that's how they got their shot. In this day and age, you're not going to get a shot. People are a lot softer now. The models, back in the 80s and 90s, the models are a girl in a G in the middle in Australia. We shot our winter campaigns in summer and our summer campaigns in winter. Be nothing for a model in 8 degrees, be in a freezing cold pool with a bikini on and told you can't get goosebumps. Or wearing a big thick jumper on a 40-degree day, you're not allowed to sweat. So they were very tough back then, like seriously tough. Even with Beck, when I was teaching Beck, and this is going back when she was young, it was freezing cold in winter, she was wearing practically nothing, and we sprayed her with water and stood her at the door as the freezing water came in to get the look we wanted to get. And they just suck it up, that's what it was to get a shot. But I don't know, just be a little bit more careful these days. People seem to be a little bit more fragile in general. And you don't know if their own dog just got run over yesterday.
But I'll say that because I teach a lot as well, and a lot of students, when I tell them photography is 95% talking.
Oh yes, it is.
Photography, they don't believe me. And they said, yeah, it's all that.
When I was doing the crying series, I let the models actually go into their own space to find the sadness, because I wanted to catch the first tear. And yeah, there's some people like that thing over there that after 2.5 hours I gave up. You'd see the eye welt up, and she'd just suck it straight back in. And then 4 years ago, we're walking through Barcelona and this little pug dog walks past and tears just poured out her eyes. Thanks, Beck. Had a jacket on. Well, now I know I'll bring a pug in with a jacket on, I can get her to cry. But yeah, it's Tanya, one of the models I did it with, it was straight to snot bubbles. Like it went from nothing to full on. And I learnt that we had two soundtracks. One of the soundtracks because she's Middle Eastern, and one of them was about a movie that was a horrible movie where a lady got stoned to death because the husband wanted to cheat on her. And it really upset her. So the soundtrack of that just brought that into instant. And it had Justin Bieber ready to turn on to try and stop it. It worked, I got the shot. But yeah, you learn your tricks. There's a shot that I did many, many years ago as a model, Natasha, she was my muse for a long time. And we needed to get a shot, and I needed to get this insecurity in her eyes. And I don't recommend this to other people to do because I had full permission from the model. We opened our front windows, so it was just like out there. And she stood and we had our lighting, so we're lighting from the window, and she was implied topless for the shot. And I told her to close her eyes and drop her hands. And I'll tell you when I want you to open again, with the full window open. And the longer I saw this insecurity coming, I'd seen her boobs a million times, so it wasn't that. I watched the insecurity come in her face. And she trusted me. We've been working together for 10 years. And what I do is said, whenever you're ready, you're not allowed to look out the window, but when you're ready, just open your eyes softly. And I went click, and I got one frame, I got the insecurity shot. And this is Natasha, who's on the screen right now. And she was just a model that was really, really hard to get an insecure shot out because she was such a confident model. I just got to be careful where I go with this. Natasha. Has anyone got another question, you can ask it now. I'm just trying to make sure that we can see all this work that's coming up. See how there's a bit of insecurity in that face? You can see it in the eyes. There's just something she's uncomfortable with. She still hadn't looked out the window to see what's out there. And it's just those tricks you learn to get that, just that edge to the look. Because otherwise she just can turn on these amazing looks, but that's not the look the client wanted. They wanted something just slightly on the edge. Any other questions?
I'm kind of just getting into shooting people. I did some speed shooting. Is that a recommended?
Speed shooting? Sweet? Oh, street. Just shooting people on the street? Yes and no. The difference with street is you're supposed to get hidden so they don't know you're there. So it's a different thing. It's nearly you're waiting to pluck moments. But any photography is going to help you. It doesn't matter what you do.
I've done hidden and also gone up to people and asked if I could shoot them and post them a little bit.
Yeah, no, if you're comfortable doing it, that's a really good way. Because you're going to learn your skill with people who are going to be uncomfortable. You need to get a comfortable shot for them.
I'm coming from macro, so shooting people is
Like some of the good street photographers are amazing. They see something's going to happen when nobody else would even recognise. That's a skill in its own. But just learning to be able to read something's going to happen, That's a skill to use even when you're in a studio. You know what's going to happen next and you're ready to get that shot. You make sure you're focused. And going up to a complete stranger. In Australia it doesn't work very well because we've had a lot of photographic companies that would give you, a $100 gift card and then you walk out with a $10,000 bill of photos you don't even like. So lots of people got scammed in shopping centres and things like that. So as soon as you walk up to them and say, I'm a photographer, they run, especially if you're wearing a pram.
I did it in Antwerp.
Oh, right, yeah.
Scary yourself.
But if you go up with the right mannerism, and people feel, but I can't do it, I feel uncomfortable. And I couldn't even send Beck, Beck wouldn't do it. If I said to Beck, hey, she's really pretty, can you go? And Beck would go, no. Because she knows that she wouldn't like a stranger coming up to her like that. Yeah, look, it is hard. It's getting harder in the world because we don't seem to have models anymore. They're all on Instagram, doing their own modelling, or they're doing the Macarena for $1 an hour.
You're actually the main reason, or one of the main reasons I want to shoot people who...
Oh, sorry. I used to shoot fishermen. I started off shooting fishermen. They're good fun. Yeah, I know. I don't know how I made the. Well, I know how I made the progression, but it's just really strange that I went from completely different to this. But I still feel that everything we do in our life affects who we become. And back when I was very young, the school I went to raise money once every 3 or 6 months would go around with trailers, knock on people's door, you have any newspaper or cardboard? And we'd collect it all and it would be kept in the shed and they used to sell that for recycle. And I would always be in there with scissors, cutting pictures out of Vogue to draw. So I like the pictures in Vogue the best. Like there's other kids there with Playboy magazine, and I like the Vogue pictures better. And I used to redraw them. And I think I learnt my fashion eye from all the years I was drawing Vogue pictures. I think it's just that progression that you don't know what's going to happen in your life.
I really like this black and white,
People ask me why I shoot black and white. It's mainly because there's no date stamp. And there's nothing interfering you, and I quite often say why my viewfinder is set to black and white is, if you look out here, what do your eyes see? Carefully, just study what your eyes are seeing.
Black and white.
No. While they're in colour, you're seeing orange, aren't you? Right? Now I've said it, everybody can't look there without seeing colour. It's impossible. And that's what confuses you. You can't see light anymore, you're only seeing colour. So when I'm looking here, I'm seeing red and I'm seeing the colours off the pictures. They're the stronger your shirt's strong. If this goes to black and white, I don't see anything but what's important. And if you're not what's important, I need to recrop to make you important. But if you're wearing a red jumper, yes, you're going to stand out in my picture, but only because you're wearing the red jumper, not because you're really a person that was important in my frame. The other thing, I get a lot of people that say, why don't you have much clothes on? And a lot of the pictures, if it looks like they're nude, a lot of them aren't nude. They've got tape and they're wearing G-strings, they remove it in Photoshop. But the reason is, again, timeless. If we put a denim jacket on, denim shirt or a singlet, any type of top we put on is put a theme onto that picture. But once you removed that, it's just about the person. And that's why I absolutely adore shooting. You're gonna...
I was actually just thinking, but...
oh no, I thought you saw your hand go up.
I was actually thinking about a question about what do you like the least about photography and the work?
I don't like the whole industry at the moment. I'm trying to do what I'm doing, but it's a bit hard. The whole world's getting wokey. They're trying to say, oh, you can't do that. And it's sort of like, well, hang on a minute. Looking out of my eyes, this is my story. You're looking out of your eyes, you've changed my story and now I get cancelled because your eyes are looking at my picture wrong. So you should be cancelled for even thinking that way about my picture. but they won't do it that way. So there's certain things, certain pictures you take, all of a sudden it might be the feminists, it might be who, whatever, attack you over something and say, well, that's not my story, that's the story you're reading into it, so your brains have got the problem, not my brain. That's annoying me a lot because they're so quick to jump on that, whereas it's supposed to be look at something, and I've got something I've been working on for a while and it's very controversial. But it's called My Mirrors, and they're my pictures. And there'll be a description before the photo, how you're to look at the next photo. Then you'll look at it, and I want you to study the photo and think what you're actually seeing. Not what you think the photographers mean, what are you seeing? And then when you flip to the next page, and I'll write what I see, and it'll never ever match what you're thinking. And that's getting scary now, that people are getting judged and cancelled because the way their mind works, not the way the art was done or the way the photo was done. It's the way that person's mind thinks. And I've had problems in the past on social media. I had F-stoppers reblogged one of it was a training video. And because most of the F-stoppers are nothing but real camera club people and a lot of females in there, they started attacking me. Oh, look at the casting couch. Oh, a disgusting man's got her topless. Look how old he is. Old pervert. So I'm not allowed to be old and a photographer. These people have never met me. If it wasn't a casting couch, we've got 3 couches in the studio for our clients to sit on. And your disgusting mind could only see that. And if you watch the video properly, and one of them hadn't even watched the video, she just saw some screenshot that the people had put up and said, oh, it's such a disgusting, this big fat old man here and a half naked girl there. Well, if you watch the video, the actual model says, I'm uncomfortable wearing what I mind. Do you mind if I just wear a shirt without a bra underneath? My thing was, if you're comfortable, yes. If you're uncomfortable, no, don't do that. And just because she looked young, she wasn't young, she was 19. And the only reason she was in my studio is because I'd been shooting her sister for about 3 months before, and this is the actual girl now. That was her 4th or 5th shoot. But the very first shoot I did with her, it was training. And I got attacked because, number one, I'm over 60, I'm overweight, I'm a male, you must be a pervert. You know, but what they don't understand is, yes, I have 2 kids, I'm a grandfather. And I've been doing this a long time without a single complaint. And look at the models I've been working with. Most of these models you've seen I've worked with over 10 years. If there's something wrong with me, they wouldn't be working with me. But unfortunately, that's the industry. What I really hate is lots of retouching, so I try not to do it. I don't shoot commercially anymore. Well, technically I do, but our Beck's standard email, sorry, our books are closed. But if a job comes across, you go, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. We will say yes. But most of the time, I'm concentrating on doing my work. I take a picture, I can sell my pictures to either clients. They see it and go, oh, I want to use that for an ad, or we want to use, Italian dance company bought 7 or 8 of my pictures for 1 year's season. That's where I make my money now. Advertising, it's all woke. It's like horrible, it's boring. You can't create an image that's going to sell anything because all the rules that are put on you. There's no money in editorial anymore. You actually got to pay to be in magazines. People don't realise that you're going to be in Vogue, you got to pay for every page. So that's just how the world works. So that was very easy money, editorial, it was very easy.
Do you see the perception of aesthetics changing?
I'm hoping, I've got 2 things in my head. What my grandfather said to me when I was really young and what I want to happen. So my grandfather said, if you want to know what's happening to the world, watch science fiction. And he's pretty accurate. Watch all the science fiction movies of the future. Everybody's wearing the same clothes and nobody's smiling. Fashion industry looks like it's in problem. So that for me, I've seen Vogue coming back. I've seen some of my favourite magazines like Numero and ID and that starting to do editorial stories again. It's not about the detail on the pocket. It's about what you're going to feel like if you wear that jacket. And you can't see the jacket properly. You might be underwater wearing it. That's what fashion used to be. 2 seasons a year. And you know, people like Calvin Klein had that, I think 10 years he ran his obsession campaign. It was just Kate Moss laying naked on the couch with "Feed Me" written in lipstick over it. And that ran for 10 years. Because if you wear his cologne, that's the edge that you're going to be wearing. Whereas now Calvin Klein is some cheap Chinese made underwear with Calvin Klein written on it. That is not fashion.
Because what I see is that, because we were brought up watching a lot of commercials, we looked at a lot of magazines. You know,
Yep.
we're actually trained in seeing aesthetically nice things.
Yes.
But the kids today, they don't really know.
And especially once you go onto social media, it's just all boring.
So, and they start running the show soon, so
Yeah.
it'll be a tough time.
Yeah, I'm just trying to shoot what I want to shoot. More of my stuff that might be a bit controversial, I'm saving for a book. And then my kids have to worry about the consequences.
I'm trying to say that memes are not the top of the pinnacle of aesthetics.
Yeah, but I've seen some really good campaigns from some of the top designers. They're going back to the old way. So hopefully, because everything's so boring, we need stuff to stand out again. And when they prove that this is going to sell because of this, we did this crazy thing, you'll find more and more companies will go back to the old way. Hopefully.
When you sell pictures to magazines, is it normally you taking pictures you like to take and then sending them in and they buy it, or they are requesting certain kind of photos from you?
In the very early days, I was flown to places to do shoots, and then they would pay me for what they bought. Then as it went on, more and more I would shoot stuff and then submit them to the magazines, and they would buy it or didn't buy it.
So then you just pick the models you want to work on models.
Yeah, I was lucky that I had some good clients that knew that if they just leave me to it, I would get, as long as it didn't look like a catalogue shoot, I would get it into magazines. So they'd give me a lot of freedom on shoots. And this was what the shoot that you just missed was one of them. It was a lingerie shoot. They gave me full freedom just to shoot modelling the lingerie in the city of Melbourne during the day and at night time, and it went viral for them. So I had magazines ring up, "Oh, we want to run this." So they were wrapped. It was so much free advertising for them, as well as it was paid work for me. Yeah, but things have changed a bit. But I still, if you can stand out and look different, people are going to buy it. And it's one thing I push a bit with art and things like that is if your work's just nice, so we're 500 pics, everything's nice, you're just going to flick. You're never going to stop. But then if you can get a yin and yang like this, and half the world absolutely loves what you do in the other world, half hates it and thinks you're the worst photographer in the world, the lovers will buy your work. And who cares what the haters say? She'll only buy it if you absolutely love it. So you've got to, but you can't fake it. You can't be like clickbaiting, or you can't do that. Try and be controversial. You've got to actually be true to your soul. So there actually is. You can feel there is a true story in behind that. It's a tough world, but as it's a tough world, it's never been easier to show the world your stuff. All the social platforms and everything, you can show it. And if you stand out enough, you just watch. People will start sharing it. And if you see AI do it, make sure you're different to that. Yep.
Yeah, could you tell us some words about your book project?
I've got a couple on at the moment. One of them is, like I said, the mirrors. And because this has been live streamed, I can't show you because it's not appropriate for YouTube and that. Well, one of them is, but if I go to the folder, it's not. It's pretty much, it's a series of pictures that you're going to look at and you're going to go, oh, you're going to have a story to it. But then when you turn to the next page, I'll actually tell you the story I had to it. And you'll find how different it is. But when you look back at it, you go, everything he said is in that picture. But my mind, because I went to a Catholic school, or I got bullied by Chinese, or something in your life, will have you look at that picture different to he'll look at it. Because all of you will have your own thought process. Same as what I said about the house on the hill and the dog. Every one of you are going to see this different house, a different tree, a different street. And I've already tried this out on people, and anyone who's doing the workshop, I will show, sorry, I'm not doing a teaser, but it's part of what I teach. I will show one of the pictures and they'll all agree with me. The story that will be the picture, they'll say, I didn't see that in the picture whatsoever, but now you've told me the story, I can only see that in the picture. There's another project I've been working on for quite a few years, and I think it's got another 8 or 9 years to go. It's called In My Pants. It's a pair of Levi Detroit 501s that I was wearing back when I was 20. I still have them. And anybody who's in the book, that's all they're allowed to wear. And it's not a boobs out book, because we'll give them tape and they can cross and do what. We've got some men and women and everything. But it's basically, we wanted to raise money for cancer research. So it's like get in my pants, like the person who's suffering from a disease or family who've got that problem. And again, anybody who's on tomorrow will see that it's not about me shooting models, because if you see who's in the book and the situation they're in there, and I still got an amazing photo out of them, including my own mother topless at 80. Right, so if I can get my mum look good at 80 topless, so she's covered, right? And it's just that skill you have to learn, and I can't teach you that. You just got to, one thing I push, you got a model, you got a photographer. Right, the photographer can get uncomfortable by saying stuff, or the model can get uncomfortable by him not saying anything. What's going to get a better picture? So all you photographers get uncomfortable. Don't sit there and say nothing, you're making the model uncomfortable. Every model, we do a thing where every model that comes in, we ask them, what's the 3 worst photographers in the world? And the one thing they all complain about is a model, the photographer that says nothing. Doesn't give them any feedback, just sits there and goes, they don't know if they're doing it right, they don't know if they want it strong, powerful, they don't know anything. It really takes 2 people to tango, and if you want to get a great picture, you have to be dancing with that model. Cool? Does that answer your question?
I want to follow up with the last question I had. If you take your models and try to create a story, do they use their own clothes, or do you provide clothes for them?
Depends. We have a big wardrobe at the studios. I mean, I've had studios for 20 years now, so all of that's built up. The suitcase out the back has got clothes in that we travel around the world in.
So basically you have the storage of clothes.
Well, things like the jeans, we have that pair of jeans for the book. So if I bump into anybody, I've always got them handy for me. We have some of our favourite clothes, but there's a lot of photographers that'll say, oh, I saw another photographer shoot in that dress, I can't shoot that. Or we're the opposite. We just know these clothes look good. They don't really add much of a story to that allows us to get a feel out of the shot, and then the model's comfortable. We can show them pictures of, and they go, oh, I love that feel. So yeah, but quite often, same with hair and makeup, we don't use it. I know everyone goes, oh, you got it. No, most models will tell you they don't like the makeup done by hair and makeup artists. So always make them look like pandas. And most models know how to do a very simple makeup. That's all you need. You don't want blue eyeshadow and coloured lips and all the crazy stuff they want to do. And all it does is it wastes 2 hours of the day while the model's having hair and makeup done. You're waiting to shoot, and the model comes out all tired and not liking what she looks like. So good luck getting a picture out of her. I've got a whole storyboard full of terrible hair and makeup shots. Anyone else? Is that fine to, how are we going for time? Or do you want me to go longer? I don't know. Okay. Oh, is that clock?
Still an hour to go.
Oh, still an hour to go, sorry. No, if it's still an hour to go, sorry, my clock's wrong. Or is that clock wrong? Yeah, I was going to say, I was trying not to go too long. But if any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. But
I have one last one. What's the most fun photo shoot you had ever?
I would say the most fun, I can't show you, but I can show you after this finishes, was 2 art nude models. Both of them are good friends of mine, and we put bunny heads on them and shot them all around the streets in the city, everywhere, and we had so much fun doing it. One of the things, there's an old tennis club right in the middle of the city. So right in the middle of the city, it's called Heritage. They have 2 courses. It's the old grass courts. They're right in all beautiful big trees. I've walked in there, I didn't know it was their grand final day. And I've walked in and said, "Is someone I can talk to?" And it was at night time. So I knew this looked great when all the lights were on. And I said, "I've got 2 naked models with bunnies on bunny heads on. We want to come in and pretend they're playing tennis on." She goes, "It's our grand final day." I said, "Oh, sorry." She goes, "But that's the present over there, as long as they walk in on his match." So the 2 girls walked in with the bunny heads on, butt naked in high heels to the mat while he's playing tennis. And we did the shot, and things like that was so much fun. We, at Flinders Street Station, which is an iconic station in Melbourne, and directly opposite's a famous bar called Young and Jackson's, and there's a famous painting in there called Cleo, which is a full nude lady painting. It's been there for like 120 years. And we're going to do it right on the steps where all the clocks are, but there was a bit of a fight there and there's a dozen police there. And we'll just go into Young and Jackson's and we'll have a drink, and if they don't go, we won't do the shoot. And we went in there, we quickly had a drink, and we saw the cops all went, and someone commented, "What's the bunny heads for?" And a few people said, "Oh, what's all the camera gear?" And we just said, "Just watch." So we walked across the road, we set it up, the 2 assistants just pulled the gowns off them, and the cheer that came out of the pub was just... So it's things like that. I've got plenty of shoots, but that was got to be one of my favourite shoots ever, because we were all, the 2 models in it were 100%, they're art nude models, and they will walk butt naked down any street in the world and not care, because they're art nude. It's not about, this is one thing the world gets wrong. They think nudity means sex. It does not. With all the famous statues and that around the world, all of that, it does not mean that. It's just unfortunately more so American media, and all our social media is all, you know, Google, Apple, YouTube, all of that's owned by Americans. It's their morals because they've got that way of thinking. But yeah, things like that was a great shoot. I've got plenty of fun shoots I've done. There's one of Beck in Disneyland that we did. I had a series called Naked in the Streets. Beck doesn't do nude. So she was just wearing a pair of shorts and a little crop top and a little jacket and some boots. And we're in Disneyland in America, can't remember which town, one of the big Disneylands, and she gets there, she sits on the ground, she crosses her legs, brings her knees up, all of a sudden you can't see her top, puts her hands on there, and I shot some pictures. And as I was shooting, she had Mickey Mouse ears on as well for the shot. And as we shot the pictures, there's a couple came with their kids, walked up behind, and this boy's just going like this. She was wearing clothes, so we don't know what he was looking at, but we got the frame, and Beck and I just killed ourselves laughing when we saw the frame. It was like, that is the frame. So there's lots of experiences like that. I've got many of them, but there's certain things that happen on shoots that are just so funny. And especially when you're working with a team that's all together. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love what I do. Cool? No worries.
Thank you.
That's all right.